Welcome to today's episode. Our guest today is Aurora Winter. She is a writer and entrepreneur who's written many books and helps entrepreneurs and business leaders turn their words into wealth. Welcome to the show.
Oh, it's great to be on the show with you, Eric. I love your podcast. Congratulations for almost having 50 episodes right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us today to share some of your stories and your advice for marketers and executives. I understand that you've written how many books?
Lose track because I'm also a ghostwriter and I don't count those books. I've written 7 books myself, not counting my new fantasy series. One of the books I want to talk about because it was a remarkable marketing feat is called Marketing Fastrack. And at the end of this podcast, I'll tell people how they can get it for free. But I also have a book called Turn Words into Wealth. And then just for funsy, I'm writing a fantasy series called Magic, Mystery, and the Multiverse, which I'm launching on Kickstarter. But the value I'd really like to add to the listeners today is how can they turn their words into wealth by telling them a couple of stories and one statistic. So, the statistic that I want to share out the gate to catch your attention is that studies show that the value of adding a story is phenomenal. In fact, adding a story to whatever you're up to can increase the value of your product or service by 27 fold. So, it's not a trivial thing to be left to the side or left to accident, the stories that you share and how you share them. And if time permits, we can get a little bit into the neuroscience of communication so that you know the building blocks of correct communication. Because anybody who's been trained at university, as I have, I've got an MBA, we are taught exactly the wrong way to do it. But what I'd love to do, as Eric says, is share a remarkable marketing story that other people can do. But it changed my life. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've launched a couple of 7-figure businesses. I had a TV production company that raised 5 million. I had a yacht sales company that became the largest yacht dealership in Western Canada and was a 7-figure company. I've trained coaches as the founder of the Grief Coach Academy, which is now sold and run to somebody else. And what the story I want to tell you is the story of pivoting to a new business. So I was running the Grief Coach Academy. I was known as the person who trained coaches and therapists and other caring individuals how to help themselves or help people through grief. And you know what? I get bored easily. So I was tired of talking about grief and I wanted to do something else. But I wanted to test a pivot and see if people would want me, as they knew I had my email list and those people all knew me about grief and grief coaching. My backstory is my husband died suddenly. So when he was only 33 and I was 31. So I really wanted to help people through grief. And I still do want to help people through grief, but I wanted to pivot. So people were starting to ask me, would you help me with my marketing? Would you help me write a book? I've seen you've run a bunch of books. How do you get on radio? How come you're on podcasts? How come you're on TV? Can you help me with my messaging, my marketing, and my media? So starting to hear that. So the first part of this story that everybody can do is listen, pay attention to what people are asking for. But then I wanted to do a minimum viable product, so to speak, to use Silicon Valley terms, to see if people who already run my email list, who already knew me, but knew me in a completely different capacity, would be willing to invest and follow me with their credit card. Not just, oh, yeah, a good idea, Aurora, but hey, a good idea that doesn't have shing attached is not proven. So I wanted to do a minimum viable product. What I did is I reached out to somebody who had previously interviewed me. He was the director of coaching for Tony Robbins at that time, a wonderful man named Mark von Musser. I said, hey, we've done a great interview. I know your coaches liked it when I came in and taught them some specifics about coaching people through grief. Would you be willing to interview me about marketing? I said, most people don't know that I'm also a serial entrepreneur who's launched several other 7-figure businesses. I know that you're great at marketing and I'd love to interview you about marketing. So I gave him the list of questions to ask. I choreographed the interview so that I got out my stories that I thought would be of most value. And I was really pleased with the interview. And he said, oh my God, you were amazing. It changed lives. So I took that interview, I transcribed it, and I turned it into a little book. It later became this printed book, Marketing Fast Track. But when it was merely a PDF, I used that PDF to reach out to TV hosts who had previously interviewed me about grief and grief coaching and stress and how to reduce stress and how to increase happiness. And I said, "Hey, I've got a new book coming out about marketing. Would you be willing to interview me on TV about marketing?" And in fact, I secured 2 TV interviews before it was more than a PDF. Then I took the little added a little cover and in a weekend made this is a prettier version, but in the weekend made the book Turn Words into Wealth. And then I offered it to my email list. I had a very modest email list at that time of about 12,000 people. But again, they knew me from a different perspective. So it was a test. And I offered them the Marketing Fast Track book for free, but they had to pay shipping and handling. The reason I did that is I really wanted to see the people who were interested. And even if people put in $4.77, it's enough that it's more than a casual interest. They're actually put their hand up. Yes, I'm interested in learning how to fast track my marketing, and I'm willing to hear from Aurora, even though I know her in another way. And then that once people got that book, we mailed them out the book. My assistant did that. And then they got a series of videos that added more value about their marketing. There were standalone value, not pitches, but standalone. Here's some things to do for your marketing. And at the end of this podcast, I'll tell you how you can get some videos and free book as well. And the result was not only those 2 TV interviews, but immediately somebody signed up to get help with her marketing. Then I had several people sign up to get a much larger package to get the spoken author launch, which in basically videos, audios, a book, something that they could turn into a podcast or 200 pieces of social media. Anyway, bottom line, that immediately proved the idea worked and it generated $250,000 in 90 days. So I'm like, okay, I think this works. So it was a very good minimum viable product. In fact, it worked very nicely to give me confidence that yes, people did want to know more about that. And the secret sauce is how can you create something that's a minimum viable product that you can do fairly quickly? It took me much longer to write most of my books because they're prose, but Marketing Fast Track is a conversation. And yes, I tidied it up recently so that I told people, here's what happened after this book came out and added some quotes. And it's also got a chapter, the first chapter from another book called Turn Words into Wealth. But Amazon is the number 3 search engine. So can you have a book on Amazon? Or even if you don't have a book on Amazon, can you offer people a PDF or a little print book that will identify the people who are potential prospects for what you're up to? So that's one of my remarkable marketing stories, Eric.
That's awesome. So you said that anybody can do this, can make this kind of pivot. Tell us what was hard about the pivot? Because the result is obviously great. Was it easy or was it hard?
Oh, the hardest thing for me is I'm a recovering perfectionist. So there's part of me that's, what do you mean? It's a conversation. That's not a book. I need to write it all prose. And I quelled that by saying, okay, Aurora, you can write the prose book later after we prove the market feasibility and that people really want this. And so I struggled with my perfectionism. I think that was the biggest thing that was hard about it. Some things that would be perhaps easier for somebody like you to do, Eric, with your journalism background, is how do you create the content? So I had to choreograph the interview. So that's something that I help my clients do. I train people to become media savvy, and I have a background in film and television. And so it was easy for me, but it may be something that other people need to spend some time because if most people just talk, but where's the point? So that was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, what's the point? That's sometimes the big question. I think people should read the whole book, Marketing Fast Track. There's a lot of great marketing books out there. Give us the golden nugget of why people should prioritize reading this marketing book.
I think this marketing first, you can get it for free. You can go to samepagepublishing.com. So there's no cost. You don't even have to pay shipping anymore, but you get the ebook now. Or you can visit aurorawinter.com and get it for free. The reason I think this is a precious marketing book is that it's unlike others in that it actually shows you what a minimum viable product book looks like. And it gives you an example of one that actually worked to generate $250,000 in 90 days, which is not a bad result. Like a lot of people bury their minimal viable product after they come out with the fancy schmancy one. You want to read the fancy schmancy one? Read the book Turn Words into Wealth Blueprint for Your Business, Brand, and Book to Create Multiple Streams of Income and Impact. That's the fancy smanchy one. So what I like to see is I like to see how did they really do it? Like Google's launch of email only had 3 features on Gmail, but you can't see that anymore. You can't really see how it evolved. You can only see where it got to now. So why I think this is such a value for people is so often we maybe know a story of how they started, like we know Oprah started with nothing, and then we see where she is at the end, but the steps in between are hidden. So this example of Marketing Fast Track, the little book that launched a new business, is an example of, oh, there's a step I could do. And it shows you, and then it explains the emails that I send. It gives you the real story.
I like that. I like that. Give people the example so that they can follow in your footsteps. That's amazing. So let's hear the second story.
Okay. So there are many times that my life has been changed in a very short period of time. And when I went, oh, that's interesting. So another theme in my life is pivoting. I always seem to be starting new businesses, doing new things. So after my husband died suddenly when he was 33 and I was 31 and our son was 4, we had been running a yacht sales and yacht charter business. That was a 7-figure business, and that was very successful. But he was the one who knew how to sail, and I was the one who knew how to crunch numbers and create a tax shelter and do market feasibility studies. Anyway, I was also working as a screenwriter at that time. I love writing, and I was invited through an accidental series of things to pitch my idea, my screenplay at the Banff Media Festival. So the first part of this story that everybody can do is when you get invited to do something outside of your comfort zone, say yes. That's the first part of the story. So I was happy writing away in my office. And at that time, I didn't have any training really in pitching. And so I was quite anxious that I was going to have the opportunity to completely launch this new book and new career, or else ruin my reputation forever because I'd be pitching my TV idea, my script idea to about 600 movers and shakers in Hollywood and in Canada who were in the audience. And in case they missed it, somebody called me the next day and said, oh, would you mind if I followed you and did a documentary feature film about this pitch, your first pitch? I'm like, okay. Second time of saying yes to something I was uncomfortable with. Anyway, so I practice. Third lesson, prepare. I practiced my pitch. I was very uncomfortable. My neck went into spasm because I'm like, I've never done this before, and it's gonna be televised in front of all these people. But I drew upon at that time, I was also teaching aerobics. So I drew upon a strength from another area. I'm like, okay, I can teach an aerobics class, so I'm sure I can do this. Anyway, I got up and I pitched my idea for a TV movie called Lost Rituals. And to my great surprise, it sparked a bidding war, spelling television and in Hollywood and Canadian broadcasters and Canadian producers and American producers, and even one British producer. They all thought, oh, this sounds really great. And it sparked a bidding war, which then made a really great documentary feature. It became a half an hour documentary called The Big Break, and it's still aired on CBC television now and again. For a while, it was used to teach the art of pitching at the Banff Television Festival. The result of that was that script got optioned, and indirectly, I became a little bit famous in the film business, at least in Canada, and it led to basically six-figure job, which then later led to me going to the Cannes Film Festival and NATP and other things, and then later led to me meeting somebody and forming a film and television production company and raising $5 million. So there's a couple of lessons in here that I'd like to point out because I think everybody can do this. I was really uncomfortable saying yes, but I said yes to do a pitch, yes to have it documentary. And then I gave it my best pitch, but I practiced. And then I was open to what might happen. And while the immediate obvious result that I was hoping for was that book, that movie, Lost Rituals would get made, Something I think even better happened, and I got offered a full-time job as head of development for Canada's largest film and television production company, which changed the trajectory of my life. Before that, I was a young widow writing screenplays on the side who had run a yacht sales company with her husband who was dead. Then the other thing that this points out, something short, 20 minutes or less, can change your life, can change your business. So get your message clear. Talk about things that you are passionate about. And in 20 minutes, if you have the right message to the right audience delivered with the right energy, it can change the trajectory of your life and your business.
That's right, and it's amazing that you're able to do that. I think pivoting itself is hard. It's a
Yeah.
hard thing for people to do because, as you pointed out, it puts people outside their comfort zone, but you just gotta sometimes make that leap to change everything, like you said.
I find that I do because I get to be a restless person. There's different personality types. But it's just another little takeaway nugget from this is know who you are and what jazzes you, what fuels you. I'm the kind of person who loves starting things. I'm a quick start. I know my Clifton strengths. I'm strategic, maximizer, activator, learner, and relator, which makes me a great coach because I'm naturally strategic. I see how to activate whatever they're doing and how to maximize it. I love learning and I love relating to people. But who I am not is the person who likes just chugging along, running the business with a 5% growth. And it's not me. I like to do something new and knock it out of the park, as your workforce is, I'm sure, going to do when you launch it very soon here, Eric. You're up to something new and exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, and I think that I have always been more like the people who come out of college and they're like, "I'm gonna be somebody," and I'm very just have a healthy amount of ambition. But more than
Yeah.
that, I've always just had curiosity, which I think is one of
Yeah.
the best things culturally and in business because curiosity will enable you to make pivots because you can wonder, "Can I do that?" And then
Yeah.
wonder, "How can I figure that out?" And
Yeah.
as the example you pointed out of an MVP of that's the best way to sometimes figure things out is to break it down into manageable chunks, and that's exactly what an MVP is. So, that I really liked that example. Talk to us a little bit about turning words into wealth because I like this concept. Being a journalism major, so tell us a little bit about
So I love this book, Turn Words into Wealth. I have actually given away all my copies. So this is my proof copy. It doesn't normally come with a gray bar. It's a blueprint for your business brand and book to create multiple streams of income and impact. And as I'm explaining it to you, I'm going to tell you the neuroscience behind it. Okay, so neuroscience, you always want to do things in three steps. One is the croc brain, catch attention with something short. So the title, Turn Words into Wealth, or the longer title, Turn Words into Wealth Blueprint for Your Business Brand and Book, appeals to the croc brain. A little short thing. Um, you know what category I'm talking about. The second thing we always need to do in neuroscience is talk to the midbrain, which is all about relationships, which wants social proof. Being on Eric's podcast is an example of social proof. Eric wants to interview me. We all love Eric, or Aurora must be worth speaking to. But this book also won Outstanding Nonfiction Book of the Year, Lions. It's won multiple other book awards. So other people think this book is worth reading. So that's the second step of neuroscience. And then the third step is deliver your message. In college, they basically tell us give an Excel spreadsheet verbally, and the other person will open it, analyze it, and agree with you. That's not so much. Break it into those three steps. So what was heavy on my heart as I saw people writing books is they would spend the average first time author spends 3.5 years writing their book. And then they would drop the ball from a marketing point of view right at the finish line. So their book wouldn't invite the reader who wanted more to go to their website, to get more value, to hire them as a speaker, to hire them as a coach or a consultant or whatever the thing was. And it wouldn't have baked into it the value proposition going forward. So nonfiction books solve a problem. Turn words into wealth solves the problem of how do you monetize your message? How do you turn your words into wealth? There's 7 different models of how to turn your words into wealth, and I share stories of how I did it, how my clients did it, and how famous people do it. Now, when I share how I did it or how my clients did it, it's baked in, "Oh, maybe Aurora would work with me. Oh, Aurora knows what she's doing. She's done it multiple times. Maybe she'd work with me." And it's it's in integrity part of the content. It's a valuable part of the content, just like the 2 stories that I told as examples of remarkable marketing. This is why I like to help people at Same Page Publishing, because most people forget or they sell themselves short or they're too shy or I don't know, various different limiting beliefs that they don't bake in the value proposition. If you break in the value that you provide into your book, then you can give the book away and it will make a ton of money because it will help build a 6, 7, or 8-figure business.
From a marketing perspective, I really hate it when I see people trip at the finish line. They run a
Oh.
marathon, they trip at the finish line. It's hard to watch, like, it's really hard to watch, and in particular, this example is a thrill of victory and the agony of defeat of if someone spends 3 years writing a book and
Yeah,
then they don't really deploy these strategies for the marketing of it,
yeah.
that's just it's tragic is what it is.
It's
So
totally tragic, and it can be prevented. So I've got a book launch checklist I do with my clients. We have a 90-day lead up. I'm launching somebody's book later this month, and we've already organized. We've got the reviews sorted. We've got the it's already won 4 awards before it's published. So when we launch that book on the marketplace, it arrives like a finished product. So sad when people's book only has 1 review on Amazon. They didn't think about marketing it. They don't have a call to action. They don't let people know other ways they could be of service. But I also people help people with their fiction books. I'm helping a lawyer write 9 legal thrillers. His first legal thriller has got over 50,000 readers and over 2,000 reviews on Amazon. And for funsie, I am also writing a fantasy series, which is launching on Kickstarter. If you like fantasy, Magic Mystery in the Multiverse, it's a young adult fantasy series. So I'm always exploring. There's no growth in the comfort zone, as my mother would say. So I'm always pushing the envelope, going from nonfiction to fiction, going from launching on Amazon and other traditional publishers to, hey, let's try a Kickstarter.
so thank you for sharing these stories and these tactical, practical ways that people can get going to turn their words into wealth. Can you share the offer that you mentioned so that people
Absolutely.
can get this info and start that journey?
So people can get the book Marketing Fast Track, the little book that launched a new business and it generated $250,000 in 90 days. And you can see under the hood how it was constructed because I'm being transparent. They can get that book for free on my web page, samepagepublishing.com, or you can go to my name, aurorawinter.com, aurawinter.com. And not only will you get the ebook Marketing Fast Track, but you will also get 5 free videos that will help you attract capital clients and media coverage and some other goodies as well. And then we can stay in touch. So that's, I think, a very worthwhile use of your time. And the good thing about Marketing Fast Track is it's a very short book. It doesn't take long to read. And then if
That's
they want
great.
like a more fully baked book, the book Turn Words into Wealth is available on Amazon and wherever books are sold.
Amazing. I think everyone listening should share this episode with their friends. People need to hear these stories about how to do exactly that, turn their words into wealth. Thank you for spending the time with us today and sharing these great insights. We
Oh, it
appreciate
was
it.
great to be on with you, Eric. Thanks so much.